Imagine being locked in a dark basement with hundreds of people, with no food, no water, and not knowing if you'll survive the night. March 2022, Yagidne, Chernihiv region, Ukraine. A small village surrounded by dense forests suddenly became a trap for its residents. When Russian forces entered, the life of every person here was divided into before and after. Anastasia woke up to the rumble of tanks and the crackling of automatic gunfire. The door to her house was kicked down, and she, along with other residents, was forcibly driven into the school. The basement became their new home, cold, dark, with no food or fresh air. People huddled together, sick people coughed in the dark, and dampness crept up from the walls. The first night was the scariest. The cries of children and the moans of the elderly squeezed her heart. In the morning, the Russians opened the door and carried out the body of a man who could not endure the suffocation and overcrowding. But even after that, the soldiers didn't allow anyone to leave. A few days later, the disappearances began. Russian soldiers came at night, whispering names. Those they took were never seen again. Anastasia tried not to look into the eyes of the tormentors, but it didn't help. One day she heard her name. They pulled her upstairs. They led her through the school corridors, where the children's drawings still adorned the walls. They threw her into a classroom, and the door slammed shut. Silence was pierced by footsteps, heavy breathing. The stench of alcohol made her head spin. She wanted to scream, but her voice was drowned in the dark. Days turned into an endless nightmare. Sometimes they left her alone, in the classroom that became her prison. The children's desks reminded her of the life she had lost. She knew that below her, in the basement, her mother was waiting for her. But would she make it? Time stopped. She tried to count the hours by the flickers of light through the broken window, but it didn't help. Every sound in the corridor made her flinch. She stopped eating, stopped crying. She just waited. One day, the door was left open. There was no one in the corridor. She ran out into the night, barefoot, across the schoolyard, through the shadows and the smell of rotting flesh. The dead lay exposed to the sky. Her feet touched the cold earth, but she ran. She ran through the destroyed houses, through the dark streets, until she reached the forest. There they found her, half dead, trembling, with eyes wide with terror. Ukrainian soldiers who had returned to the village couldn't believe that anyone had made it out alive. When the Ukrainian forces liberated Yagidny, Anastasia was no longer the person she had been before. She couldn't speak, couldn't sleep without hearing footsteps in the dark. But she lived. She managed to tell her story. Because evil feeds on silence.